Has, can you please start
Turn.
talking?
Yes, I am talking. Here are the words for me speaking, the words of
Perfect,
me
thank you.
talking.
Jeremy, can you start talking, please?
I love dicks in my mouth. What's up, DGBA? I'm here with Haz and Brandon doing the DGBA Speed Boost Season 13 Power Strat Power Rankings. You guys have anything to say? I'm Jeremy, by the way. I should say that. You guys have
I
anything to
love
say
I
before
love
we start?
Pokemon. I love Draft League. I love all these Speed Boost teams. They're all perfect. There's nothing wrong with any of them.
I'm
We're
just
gonna
Fine.
have nothing but positive things to say about all these teams.
I'm just here to record, and then Has, for whatever reason, asked me to actually give opinions. So here I am.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah, we got this guy off the street.
I mean, if you saw the clothes I'm wearing, you would actually think that.
Yeah, that's
Anyways, slight reminder, because this is the internet. This video contains opinions, and sometimes those are banned on the internet. So just be warned. There's opinions in this.
I'm also quite controversial, so sometimes I have things to say that aren't really nice.
I'm just a cunt.
Yeah.
All right. With all that said, and all the craziness that happened before this actual recording, let's just move on to the bottom team, which for today is Vulcan, coach of the Chicago Cabrachis, taking up the last place spot, and his team consists of Landorus Therian, Tapu Fini, Weavile, Mega Kangaskhan, Slowbro Galar, Jirachi, Mesprit, Thundurus Incarnate, Meganium, and Salamence. So, thoughts on this team? It's kind
Okay,
of...
I would like to start.
Alright,
I would like to start with a prefacing thing for this. His team is last, and he was like, I don't know, he was very late, or very early into
for
the
reference,
draft.
he got the 4th overall spot, but
yeah,
he was skipped in round 1 and what didn't come online until it was his pick in round 2.
yeah, like very late into round 2. Because he was on a camping trip without us knowing, so we started the draft without him actually being there, which was kind of fucked up for him. But he dealt with it, and this team still came out all right for the position he was put in. I would say.
Yeah, I think the team itself it's not necessarily the worst team ever. I think the quality of mons are still pretty good in terms of that they can all offer things. The issues I have with this team is that I feel like there are a lot of mons which maybe do similar stuff. Now, for example, Jirachi and Mesprit could kind of do similar things. Yes, you can argue maybe drafting Mesprit means you take off less pressure of Jirachi for doing certain things, and you can make Jirachi do some other stuff. But I feel like overall the team is lacking some certain things. There's stuff as well. I think Jirachi's the only rock resist, for example, which isn't particularly great. If you also look at his speed tiers, for example, I'm not usually one. I don't think speed tiers are the worst thing in the world, but he has a lot of really similar speed tiers. He has 3 base 100s. He has a couple around the 80s, and then you have a gap from Mesprit's to Slowbro Galar, and usually I don't think that's too bad. When you have speed gaps, but having a speed gap from 80 to 30, I think is pretty significant because it means anything under 80 isn't really going to be pressured to run that much speed, and therefore they can run more bulk.
Sometimes even mons at 80 can, because if they don't care about Mesprit speed, then it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's just it's just such a huge gap, I think, to the point.
Yeah,
where...
like a base 70 breaker can just run adamant.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
A lot of
He can run a lot. He can base just run bulk. Yeah.
So something that the two of you haven't covered yet, which there's 2 main points that I want to touch on, which is
Sure.
pretty specific. So his team is really pressure. There's a lot of pressure on Thundurus to break the bulky waters because first of all, your grass type is a Meganium, and how often are you going to bring Meganium? And then second of all, the other Pokemon on his team already pressure bulky waters and have a difficult time breaking them, like Landorus Therian, Weavile, and Mega to an extent. And to be fair, there is a Tapu Fini there, which can take
Fini does help a bit.
Fini so that does help a bit. The other thing, which I think is a little bit weird, is he actually supports offensively. He supports Mega Kangaskhan very well. He has a lot of great knockoff users with like Weavile and Lando T and like also even Finny. So like you're gonna be able to knock off a bunch of helmets that people.
Fundy too.
Yeah, even Fundy. So you're gonna knock off a bunch of helmets to make Mega Kang look better offensively. But the problem is, like Mega Kangaskhan is basically gonna be forced to be a fat wish passer almost every game because like look at like Galar, Slowbro, Jirachi, and Mesrit. Like those are 3 prime ghost targets, and like ghosts are a big part of this gen, right? And like when you're dark types with Weavile, like that's not going to want to switch in on a lot of ghost types. So like you're basically forced into using Mega Kang as your ghost switch in every week. So it's just kind of funny to me how like the top 3 support Mega Kang offensively really well, but then it's forced to be defensive for the sake of like the next 3 after Kang.
I will say on the. Oh, sorry, go on, Jeremy.
I do agree with that. I just think that you don't, especially like, yes, ghost types are really strong, but like that's a lot of certain ghost types. Like some ghost types, like some people just don't draft a ghost type because there aren't that many that are great. Ghost type as
that's
type
what
is pretty good,
say.
But say like I'm pretty sure there are a lot of teams that don't have a ghost type, or when the ghost type they have a ghost type, it's usually
they just aren't that great. And like there
are
like
big
there are
ones,
other
like
mods who
Dragapult.
can run the wish support set as well, like Jirachi, like on the cage.
Yeah, but that's not really his point though. Like it's more so that
I get that, but like you can still like because I think a lot of his mods do actually really appreciate wish, but he has a lot of different ways he can do that. It's not just relying on Mega Kang. Was just my point.
Yeah, true.
I guess
there are only a few. There are only a few like really good ghost types like Gengar, Spectre, and Dragapult, for example. But like for example, like Mimikyu, which was pretty good last gen, still is like very bad now, and it doesn't really get drafted anymore. So it's not that bad in most cases. And going back to the point that you made about the water typings, I do get that, but across like a lot of these mons, the water types are going to be pressured regardless, because like say Finny can deal with them, Lando can still deal tons of damage. Same with Kang, same with Weavile, and Jirachi can like throw off a T-Bow here or there. You know, like they're still going to be pressured a lot. Like say Swampert is not going to have a lot of recovery from the leftovers that it maybe might have, because you might also just helmet for Kang or Weavile with triple axle. So it's not that bad usually, I would say, but it is still a good point that you're making.
Yeah,
I think. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say the last point that I had was that like, and I get you can't really help with like the selection of dragon types, especially when you get it that late. But like having Misty Terrain on Salamence, I know we were talking earlier about Data's team with Finny and Latios, how that doesn't make sense, and I think Salamence also kind of struggles with that, but like even more, just because like then you basically have to rely on either a special set with Hurricane or a physical set with dual wing beat, whereas like instead of getting Draco, like having full power Draco Meteors and Dragon Claws if you're physical or whatever. I get like when you're that late the dragon options are quite limited, but like I don't know, I feel like there could have been maybe something better that like kind of supported the team. Like I think, as weird as it sounds, I kind of think Noivern would have been better here. Like I don't know, just to have like another pivot instead of.
I'm not sure, because I actually kind of like Mince here for a few reasons, but. Like mostly it's defensive option actually, because like it's like this team offensively is decent still, and Mince can be like a more fat build all the time, and just be like a DD fat build, or just a fat build with wish, or just regular boost if it wants to.
I agree, Jeremy. And the other thing as well is it's not like Misty Terrain's always gonna be up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I think is probably going to be his main way of removal. Actually, maybe Lando on some occasions, but yeah, I don't think that's a huge deal personally. But like, I think the Mons are pretty good, and I think offensively this team's good. Defensively, there are holes in terms of like the type weaknesses, I think.
Yeah.
But I think if it's piloted well, it can still do well. As a thing.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like a hard thing to. It's like hard to. How do you? It's not like a real way to say it like that. Like hard to master type of thing, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
But once it's mastered, it's really, really good. Because
yeah,
it can still be a good team. It's just like very unreliable. So
Yeah,
use
yeah.
a lot of these at the same time. Like a couple of transactions can also just make it work a lot better. So
that's fair. All right, we spent quite a bit of time going over our number 16, so why don't we go
Oh,
ahead?
you better get used to it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to our number 15 in this draft, which is Dybro, coach of the Buffalo Sox, and his team consists of Gliscor, Megalopony, Slowking, Scizor, Roserade, Gothitelle, Tyranitar, Blacephalon, Vikavolt, and Shedinja. So, what are your thoughts on this team, guys?
So the only thing I want to say like immediately is that before because I know has a lot of things pointed out. Usually, I've done PR stuff has a lot, so I'll let him do those things. One thing that really stuck to me is that Dybro he DM'd me, I think round three, around then, and he was asking like, yeah, what should I get? Should I get Slowking or Gothitelle? Because I think that as my psychic, because I think I can get Slowking and then Gothitelle later maybe, but Gothitelle with Lop works very well for Lop. The water weakness that it has. It's not really a water weakness, but like a lot of waters usually tend to really deal with it pretty easily because of the Hiraki helmet stuff. For example, Slowbro, Alamamola, and Toxapex can really switch it to it pretty well just to helmet it, chip it down, and just get away with it. And just forcing those to either run Shit Shell or not have Rocky Helmet, and not have Rocky Helmet, or have Rocky Helmet, and then just put on Pass and return into Gothitelle and like kill them that way. Which is I thought was pretty smart to build up with a LOP because usually LOP isn't supported as greatly anymore because it's not as reliable. But I thought that was actually pretty smart of him to use, and is one of the main things that I like about this team.
Yeah, I think Lop itself is actually built around pretty well. There's a lot of good pivots with it. Like you said about the golf trapping thing. Even though T-Tar can't pursuit trap anymore, which was the main reason it used to get paired up with Lop, I still think it's a decent pairing with it. He also has like a good hazard support with it as well. And like he has a lot of ways to beat like bulky, like fat psychics for it. So I mean, I think I do like that aspect of the team. I again, there was a lot of like typing wise ways, like weak to a lot of different typings. I think, like I think his only flying resist is Tita. I think his only rock resist is the Lop. I think he's also like kind of weak to. He's not hugely weak to dark types, but having like double psychic and double ghost probably doesn't help in that respect. And yeah, he probably doesn't appreciate ghost types as well. But it's just a lot of things that. Yes, he has like maybe like one or two mons which kind of like check them well, but if they're taking out the game, then he does kind of struggle in that sense. But I still do think like even though initially at first during the draft when I was looking at it when he got like Gliscor Mega Lob, I wasn't really too sure where he was going with the team. But the way it's rounded out, I still think it's like pretty decent in terms of like what he's like trying to do. I do think
Honestly,
sorry, go on.
before you finish, when I see like Gliscor low pony, I was like, okay, this seems gonna be bad. Because usually, if you start with Gliscor low pony, it's gonna be so hard to just like round it out. Not round it out like in general, but to round it out with those two being supported well enough to a point of them actually being strong. I think that is something he has done well. But like what you said with all the weaknesses that he has, it's just like it just gets overwhelmed very easily.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I think if he's able to preserve his mons well, which look at his team, he can most certainly do with a lot of these mons. Then I honestly think like he'll be fine. It's just if you take out like a Gliscor the Sizzle, like one of his like more fat mons, then you can start pressuring him a bit more, and it becomes a bit more difficult. But like I still think this team's like it's not bad. It's definitely not bad.
It looks like a classic Gen 7 team, which
it does look like it. It does look like
Yeah.
I can't be surprised because you know Dybro's a Gen 7, I guess, god. I don't know how you want to phrase that.
God.
The things. So there's a few things I do like about this team. One of the big things being, obviously, Lop plus Blacephalon is a classy core that we saw quite a bit of in Gen 7. And those two are gonna,
for sure.
Those two are going to pressure steals a lot, which makes Scizor a lot more threatening, which I really like, and and Roserade as well.
Yep.
The things that I'm not too big a fan of, I think there's a lot of pressure on Gliscor to be the fighting resist, mostly, because like we've seen people try to draft Slowking as the main fighting resist, and it's just like never a good time because of like common knockoff users and whatever, and like also people expect Slowking to be Slowbro, and it's just not. Goth, you're not going to bring to every matchup. Roserade has abysmal physical defense. And, like, Vikavolt, same thing. You're not going to bring it to every matchup. And, of course, like, you know, Blacephalon isn't going to want to switch into close to anything. So, like, I think there's a lot of pressure on the Gliscor to be a fighting resist, which limits its potentially offensive sets. And same thing with, like, Has touched on it with Tyranitar being a ghost and dark resist for this team, since, like, the only other one is Megalop. And, again, you don't want to be switching that into too many hits. One other thing that I thought was a little weird, his team seems to like having Hazard Stack, but it doesn't have a spinner. So like, for one thing, like, yes, his only two rockers are Gliscor and Tyranitar, but like he still has the spike stacking potential with Roserade and even Sticky Webs with the Vikavolt, which Sticky Webs plus like Blacephalon and Lop is sick. But like not having a spinner and being potentially forced to defog your own hazards away is pretty bad.
I think maybe his mindset's more, I'm just gonna like hazard stack them, which you can certainly do with the options he has.
That's fair. But then there's also like the thing where Boots is such a potent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the other thing is like the thing is he can put Boots on his mons to the point where like he wouldn't be. He could probably.
I see what you're saying. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I get that. The last thing, and I know that this is like the Shedinja pick was more of a meme, but like if you're gonna make a meme one pick, at least have it not be anti-synergy with your own team, because like you literally have Sandstream, which from your Tyranitar, which the Shedinja just dies to.
to be fair, I mean that is a bit strange, but I think like Shedinja, like no one's really gonna prep for Shedinja.
No, of course not.
It can probably do stuff.
His defoggers are also pretty fucking a mess, so like Shedinja doesn't ever really.
Yeah. He has solid defog. He doesn't have like the quantity.
I mean, the mons that have defog are solid, but like they don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But all in all, I think this team's. I still think it's not bad.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about this team a lot, so let's move on to our number 14, which we have BM, coach of Littenpool, at number 14. His team consists of Mega Diancie, Celesteela, Zygarde 50%, Swampert, Serperior, Moltres, Heracross, Alakazam, Quillfish, and Musharna. Haz, why don't you tell us about your thoughts on this team?
Man, oh man, I did not know we're still in Gen 7. That's the first vibe I got with it. This feels hella Gen 7. Like you got the Celesteela, Diancie, Zygarde core, all broken in Gen 7.
Honestly, I think if this was Gen 7, a Gen 7 team, I think it would be worse.
It might be. It might. It sounds a lot better in Gen 8 as well. And like.
I think.
But I mean,
literally, you can lead with your rocker and just
I think like, the Gen 7 versus Gen 8 is kind of whatever. The only things that
except like Moltres is an okay defog, where if you have to go into Moltres on 50%, and you know.
Oh yeah, well my thing was better now. Team, my point was
with Gen 7, with Gen 8. But the problem is that even though this team, you know.
All right, Jeremy seems to have
I think Jeremy died.
I think the difference between Gen 8 Gen 7 I think is kind of pretty minuscule because like Superior gets better, but then like Swampert and Moltres get a little worse, which is pretty negligible. The others kind of stay. I guess Zygarde gets a little bit better too, since like you could potentially give it Z. But I think the difference there is like pretty minuscule. The thing, I like this team. I like this team like a decent bit. My main two problems is that the only two rockers you have are Diancie and Swampert, and Diancie close to never wants to run Stealth Rocks, which forces you to bring Swampert, which isn't like Swampert's a decent mon, especially paired with the Celesteela. The other thing is that like, I mean, I think I value this more so, but like Dark types is like one of the few types you absolutely must have on a team. And like that was even true in Gen 7, but now it's like even more true in Gen 8 now that A, ghosts are better, and B, a lot of psychic types got stored power, which make them even more threatening. And like there's just an Alakazam on this team for no reason when you already picked up Musharna. Like I feel like there must have been some kind of dark type that was there that he could have taken instead of that. I'm not really, especially when Diancie already kills Diancie already killed. What was it that I was trying to say? Zygarde kills the poisons. That was it. And Zygarde kills the poisons and Diancie kills the fightings. That was it. So like there isn't really a reason for Alakazam to be here almost.
I think it's mainly just for speed, really, and just like another like
maybe yeah.
Special option.
Apologies, by the way, my internet kind of went out for a second.
Yeah, I hugely agree. I think having no dark type is kind of blasphemous, if you ask me.
I 100%
blasphemy.
Yeah, it just leaves you weak to like not only just both like fat sub psychic types, but also like ghost types as well. Which it doesn't have a single ghost resist on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like talking earlier. Like, but my internet went out, so I was just talking to myself. But I was just talking like this team doesn't have a dark type. Like, I'm pretty sure you've already went over it. Yeah. And it doesn't have a normal type. It doesn't have any ghost resist. Like, if he faces Spectrier, which is like ghost type to check with like a dark or normal type, he just insta loses like on the spot if like everything gets chipped a little bit, and it's not even going to be close.
Yeah, I think honestly, past the top three, I think like the rest of it is like just slightly underwhelming. It's like,
I mean, Swampert's good, but like
Swampert's good, but like the
very high
thing
now.
Is like this isn't like a traditional top heavy team. This is definitely more depth focused, and there's kind of a reason why top heavy teams have more so become the norm in Draft League. It's just there's a lot more threats to prep for, whereas like now,
I honestly don't have an issue with like that. Well, besides the issues of I don't think the quality of the mons themselves is the main issue with the team, really. Like yeah, yes, I understand like there's more like glamour picks maybe that like you could have gone down, but I think the top three are incredible. The top four are incredibly good. But you could maybe afford to go with a more depth team. The issue is you just didn't get like fundamental types like a dark or a normal, so it just kind of is a bit all over the place, really. The other thing as well, I don't like it. I think this team only has like one ice resist, being the Crawfish. Like,
I mean, Swampert like deals with a lot of ice types regardless, but it's not gonna be great, you know.
Bro, this like. The come up against a Kyurem, like it's pretty much.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, for example, like when in Gen 7, I'm a massive fucking Swampert fan. I just always like if I face, for example, a Mammoth, I would just use Pert as my main answer because like it would just be the best answer that I had, even if I hadn't like under ice resist. It's just so good at being like a fat physical wall. But if you face a special one like Kyurem, then you're kind of
no, I get that. I'd have liked another ice. I was wondering whether maybe going for a water type that resists ice might have been better than getting Pert potentially.
What he could,
you can't really go wrong with Pert, but
what he could have done, like I think Heracross is kind of useless on this team. What he could have done is like get like a Miltank and upgrade the Musharna into like something else, like a dark type.
Possibly. I
Maybe-
mean, I think I keep
maybe-
it
maybe-
the
I think the-
Heracross
I think-
makes some sense.
Yeah,
on
I think the
team, actually.
Heracross is
I mean,
better
that
on
makes
this team
sense.
than the Alakazam is.
Yeah. I was going to get to that. Like, I think what you could do is like get rid of the Heracross, then get like a Lola Persian instead of Musharna, for example. I don't know exactly the points, right? Persian, get Miltank, which also gives him another rocker. He has only one rocker outside of Mega Yancy.
Thanks for this as well.
Like, I'm not a fan of Mega Yancy rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third preference for rocks. Pretty much in this team.
Yeah, and okay.
Yeah, I do think with a couple of changes, this team is pretty decent, but it's got a lot of so many
Yeah,
glaring
I think the
holes.
main thing is like I just would have liked to see the Alakazam be something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that, I think we can move on to our number 13 pick, which for us is Mr. Habada, coach of the Gisborne Gengars, and his team consists of Victini, Rillaboom, Toxapex, Mandibuzz, Hawlucha, Sylveon, Azelf, Stunfisk, Sableye, Regice, and Mega Aggron. Jeremy, would you like to give your thoughts on this team?
I hate Habana. That's one.
Ah, yes, thank you.
It's very, very fat. Yeah.
Yes, incredible.
I hate it so much. And then you have like 3 breakers and an Azelf, and then just fat. I don't like it. Like, it's not even like usually when I draft, like I'm a very big breaker fan. Like I was like, oh, Victini Rillaboom, that's fucking amazing. And then picks Mandibuzz, which is still good, right? And then he gets Hawlucha, which is like, okay, it still pairs with Rillaboom. And he goes down the line and he just gets like Regice, Sableye, Mega Aggron, Stunfisk. Like Stunfisk is a good niche mon for a lot of things.
Yeah. I don't know
Pretty
how
good-
I like it
pretty
as the
good ground.
primary electric resist
Yeah.
for X and Mandibuzz.
That too. That was about as common that. But I just don't really like how his offense is mainly breakers, and then you have like I guess Rillaboom and Lucha back end really sweet at times. But I think they're pretty easy to deal with to not sweep. I think they're better breakers than sweepers, especially in this gen. And they have to be paired together usually to be a sweeper for Hawlucha at least. So I don't really like this draft too much
Yeah, I'm also.
because I think it's like very lackluster in a lot of ways.
Yeah, lackluster.
Its breaking power is amazing. Its breaking power is amazing, and like its like, defensive prowess is pretty good. Like a lot of the things that he needed to have those things like shine are just not good enough. So usually, something can just break a hole and just make it way easier for them to deal with the entire team.
Has your thoughts?
Oh, is it me?
Yeah.
Alright, the way I looked at this team was how many of these Pokemon would be good at banana reads? And the answer was none of them, so that's why this team's terrible.
There's a Rillaboom.
But-
There's a
There is a
Rillaboom.
Rillaboom there.
You know, that's a good point. That's a fair point. Number one. Okay, my main issue. I think the main issue I have with this team. I think I like this team a bit more than maybe you both do. Not by incredible amount, but I can understand what he was kind of going with his team. I think Mandibuzz is probably a bit is pressure to a shit ton on this team. Like I think it's his only ghost resist.
It is.
And I think it's his-
and
It's
the
his only viable default go, because if you're running default Hawlucha, I
Oh,
mean,
true. Yeah.
you are truly
You
down
know,
bad.
you know what this team reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of like the GBA meta from Gen 6.
Then
Like,
he's
way
got-
down.
he's got the
That's because there's a
Sylveon
plus
Mega Aggro.
Oh, and Victini. That's like an A drive spell.
bro. Literally, Hubler's like the biggest A drive stand in existence. So that's why this
No,
team is
look-
broken.
look at-
because
look
he's
at this
following
team.
A-drive.
Like even with Rillaboom and Pex, like it's not just like, oh, it's a Gen 6 team. No, like it looks literally like the meta from like the GBA used to have. Like it's like
Yeah.
a lot of these things are like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
I would see that like a lot, like those type of builds.
I think the thing you're underestimating is like how fucking hard it is to break down this team. Like this team's incredibly hard to break down, and it has a lot of sustainability. Is the other thing. So I think he can win a
we're-
lot of games
The only thing I think you're overestimating how like I think Electrics just beat this down a lot because
There's a
you
whole
need Stunfisk.
Stunfisk.
I mean,
Wow, there's a
Stunfisk.
Stunfisk going
It's a
on.
Stunfisk.
You know, you're not always gonna bring Stunfisk. If your Mons like force him to bring other shit, you're not always gonna have a Stunfisk there.
Like,
I do agree with you. I do agree with you to an extent. It's definitely like this team doesn't appreciate electric types, but like I
He
do
also
still think that
he also doesn't really have a way of like beating something like a Medi. Like yeah, there's a Sableye, but if you bring Sableye, you're trolling. Honestly,
not against
that's
probably
what it's there
yeah,
for mainly.
I would be willing to bet it's there for Medi and Gallade.
yeah, I know, but it's not even like it doesn't even beat Gallade, and I think Medi still like probably one shots it or like two shots of like Ice Beam. Yeah, you have Prankster, but then you just go in your Dark type or whatever, and then it's either like if you either Will-O-Wisp or Recover, it's just like it's not a good tech to them usually. It just falls over a lot.
I think the offense is like I kind of like the offense, but it's just like just slightly below what I would have liked to see, because like it's gonna get pretty repetitive with like Rillaboom and Victini kind of breaking mid game, and like Azelf either being like a suicide lead or like a nasty flop breaker, and then like Hawlucha will sweep late game. It just feels.
I mean, Sylveon can go offensive. And,
well, here's the
kind
thing.
of
That's actually one of the things I touched on my notes is that like Sylveon really wants to be offensive because like you have Victini to break steals, and then you have like a bunch of things that also pressure steals along with it. But like just looking at the team, it's just probably going to be forced into wish passing into Stunfisk and Mega Aggron every week.
Possibly, I think it depends on matchup on that one, but I guess I do see what you mean to an extent. I think the option is there if he wants it though.
I mean, I think Sylveon offensively looks really good. It's just like with the defensive things on this team, I think it. I mean,
there'll be some matchups where he might not have to like fully resort to that and can go offensive. Is more my point. But no, I do get what you mean.
Yeah. All right. So unless you two have more to say, I think we can move on.
No, I think I've said the line.
All right. So then we'll move on to our number 12, which is Mr. Manly Soap, the return of the Carolina Pangoros.
Let's go.
Best logo in all of draft, probably.
Yep.
So Manly Soap's team consists of Garchomp, Corviknight, Greninja, Tapu Lele, Suicune, Rotom-Mow, Cobalion, Lycanroc Dusk, Chandelure, and Big Tappy Tap Mr. Rhyme. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this team.
Okay, so I really liked his first pick, Corviknight. That was really great. I also really like the lack of the ground type. Yeah, fantastic. Anyway,
for context, okay, I'll give you context. So basically, me and Haz were talking about like these teams, like a lot of the teams, like in column, like a few hours ago, and he was saying that Soap's like he was like, wow, why is Soap's team so shit? And I looked at it, I was like, it's okay, it looks pretty decent, it works, it functions. He was like, there's no ground type, and they're like, why does he have a round one Corviknight? I was like, dude. He has a whole Garchomp, and he just didn't copy paste like the Garchomp into the slides. So he thought he didn't have a Garchomp. He thought like the round one Corviknight was a thing.
Has.
Yeah, but once that Garchomp got added, it doesn't look quite as bad. I have to say.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty a miracle. All right, so I think this is a pretty interesting team, I'd say. I think Garchomp's actually pretty well supported, both in terms of stuff that can pivot into it, and also having stuff like Greninja and like Lele, which really appreciates the stuff that Garchomp can break. I think that's pretty cool. I think Corviknight's gonna be pretty important to this team. Especially, yeah, I think it's kind of like the sponge to this team, really. Or sorry, the glue to this team, should I say. But my first main issue with this team is, holy crap, is this team weak to ghost types.
I mean, yeah.
Is Greninja the only resist? I'm pretty sure
It is,
Greninja's the
yes.
only
Yeah.
resist.
Yeah.
Ah, jeez. I guess Soap hasn't played enough Gen 8 to realize how good Ghost types are this gen, but yeah, having Greninja as your only Ghost resist isn't particularly great. I think there are other things as well. I think if I was gonna say he might be a bit weak to ground types, but I mean this. I mean, I guess it really depends on whether he can whether Corviknight stays around or not. And I guess you could argue he's like he doesn't appreciate electric types as well. Given the fact like the thing with Rotomo is it's kind of because you have it's grass electric. It kind of like in turn can make you kind of weak to electrics because of
Yeah, because like you
those
don't want
just-
to draft a second grass or a second electric when you have a Rotomo.
I mean you can, but he just hasn't. In this case, it just doesn't spread the resist around particularly great.
Yeah, that's fair.
Something
Oh,
I
sorry,
don't really like is particularly the Suicune. I think Suicune, like having the extra water, the bulky water, is really good. I just think Suicune is so bad in the meta this gen, so it doesn't really work. Like if that Suicune was, for example, like a Mudostic, I would have liked to see him a lot more already.
Is the whole reason
Yeah.
people are calling Suicune bad this gen just because it doesn't get flip turn?
I don't think it's because of flip turn.
I think that is
just
part of
doesn't
it. To be
fit.
fair. I think the thing with Sweet, a lot of waters can now keep momentum up. And
I mean, even before flip turn, I already thought that it wasn't great.
yeah.
And I would have probably preferred like a Milo over it.
I guess. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
The other thing I was gonna say is that I'm not fully. It's kind of simple. Like, there's a lot of bulky mons, but I'm not fully convinced on this defensive core per se.
There is
Yeah, because the only mon that had recovery is
Corviknight. That's actually not
Yeah.
true. I'm pretty sure Mr. Rhyme gets slack off, does it not? Like, not that you're gonna.
Oh,
bring
Mr.
Rhyme
Rhyme,
every
yes,
game.
that's the defensive juggernaut that he needs.
I mean, like,
But-
as far as shitter
That's
mons,
why-
as far as shitter mons go, I think Mr. Rhyme is kind of at like the top of the list.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
mean,
that's why I suggested Milo, like because it actually has recovery, which is like a lot better for him.
yeah, like Suicune he has to rely on rest,
And it's like the
Moe has to
same
rely on
point here as
Split.
well. So
Yeah, Kabalion doesn't have
Yeah,
like,
it's like
great recovery.
yeah. The main thing, one of the main things that I didn't really like was that like the team like almost like offensively is like a lot of setup base, like kind of like I guess Garchomp and Lele can be immediately threatening and kind of Chandelure. I don't know how often you're bringing Chandelure. I will say having done so multiple times, having a physical Juggernaut like Garchomp paired with a special Juggernaut like Lele is always going to put a ton of pressure on teams.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I really like. Removal and hazards are like fine, but they're not great. I know Soap thought that when he drafted Corviknight that it got rocks, but unfortunately Corviknight is not Skarmory, so it does not learn them. Fighting types I think will be a little bit of an issue just because like
Yeah, no, I agree.
just because like you know is like Chandelure and Lele as the resist, and like sure Lele
there's a
resists,
whole Mr. Rhyme.
but like Mr. Rhyme doesn't even resist. It
Yeah,
has
it'll
I mean,
it's-
get your
but-
type chart out.
But you see, yeah, I know. But you see, even if you don't resist something like Swampert with the ice type that I mentioned earlier, you can still like check it. And unlike Lele and Chandelure, this is a defensive Juggernaut. It gets slack off. Okay, listen up. Okay, this mon is
Yeah.
yes, this mon is gonna check all the fighting types.
It's gonna tippy tap its way to victory.
Yes.
What was the other? Oh right, I think the support on Lele is also a little bit off. So like when first of all your other psychic type on your team is a Mr. Rhyme, which again you're not gonna bring a bunch, and then also with Lele's psychic terrain, that's pretty well stopping you from both Water Shuriken on Greninja, and more importantly, Accelerock on Lycanroc Dusk, which is like pretty well the entire reason people draft that thing.
I mean, it's pretty strong.
I mean, I do think he can, like, as long as he isn't as long as he isn't stupid and like it doesn't forget about the terrain. I think it's okay. I think that's like very niche situations where that happens, but like it can happen. It's just another thing you have to keep in mind. Yeah, like
That
like I
reminds
said,
me
I
of
think I think the Garchomp like support is is actually very good. I think that
that,
can
that reminds me of a week one game. It was a week one game. I don't know what division it was in. Um, where I think it was Misty Terrain. It was either Misty Terrain or it was Psychic Terrain, and like it just didn't work because he tried to toxic something with either Prankster or just he tried to toxic something, I think, and then it just didn't work.
Oh,
It's
that
pretty
was a
funny.
fantastic life story, Jeremy.
No, it was. I think it was Vulcan's week one game. Spoilers. We're recording
Oh, was it?
after a few week one games have happened. Yeah, Vulcan this week.
Vul-
He had his own Misty Terrain with Finny and tried to Thunderwave something with the Thunderous.
Nice. That's pretty funny. To me, sorry. That just reminded me of that.
Anyways,
I wasn't sure if it was a Lele or Finny,
Oh, this
so
this is gonna go to 3 hours now. I can
Yeah.
already tell.
probably I mean, we had that little bit at the beginning, so I can't. We're probably about like 40 minutes in.
30 minutes in, 30 minutes.
So yeah, we'll move on to our number 11, which I think will be everyone's favorite section. We have Big Chessben, coach of the stupid lawnmower team. I believe is actually the Louisiana Lawnmowers. His team consists of Deoxys Speed, Mega Scizor, Kyurem, Crocodile, Nihilego, Whimsicott, Lantern, Urshifu Rapid, Charizard, Dusclops, Tauros, and Big Chatot. Jeremy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this team.
This team it consists of Deoxys, Speed, and Tauros, so that is all.
I also just want to make it.
I think you can include Scizor there.
Okay, maybe, yeah, okay. Kyurem too, I guess, because Kyurem just is broken.
Maybe
Like
maybe
the other mons.
possibly
For example,
Crocodile as well.
Crocodile, you might as well just lead with it and just sack it turn one. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's useless.
That's what you're meant to do with Deoxys Speed.
True.
True.
In case people are wondering, the reason why the slide looks like this is because I've put as much effort into this making this slide as Ches does watching the PR videos.
Which is none, by the way.
Yeah, he just
skipping
skips
through
his own
bit.
part. So, yeah.
Which I'm sure you at home have not done at all.
Next.
Yeah, I honestly like this is a weird team. It's very.
I think this team is terrible. I ranked it last in my power rankings.
I actually
I
don't
don't
think
think this team.
it's that bad.
I don't think this team can be terrible when there's Deoxys, Speed, Scizor, and Kyurem. Honestly, like I don't think that can be a bad team.
I
We're
think
not-
that's right. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'll give my thoughts at the end. Someone else. Go.
Sure.
I like it.
Just
I think it's more so
has-
that like his bottom half is so like garbage. Like if you just
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
real-
I mean,
it's real bad. Yeah.
yeah. I think after the Urshifu Rapid, he was just kind of like.
picking, he was just picking
He
just
was
like.
literally,
like,
he
oh,
literally
this looks
just
fun.
said fuck it. I'm just.
But
gonna
honestly,
get
like,
bad.
Oh
honestly,
no,
like,
I remember.
these-
I remember.
Sorry,
He
go on.
wanted Talonflame, and then
Oh
someone.
yeah, he was
Talonflame,
mauled. He was
and
mauled
then
like crazy.
He
when
was
couldn't get
mauling really
Talonflame.
hard, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'll just get Charizard."
Yeah,
I
like
remember that.
to be fair, like it's not like Charizard, Dusclops, and they can all at least like they are niche brings in the sense that you can bring them to a game and they can at least do something, in a sense. Okay,
Angry
it's not like yes they aren't incredible, but they can at least. Like,
I mean, did you not see the chat out game where he just let chat out in 6-0?
True.
I mean,
true.
yeah, I've seen that
Shout
game,
outs
but,
to UPA.
yeah. And yeah, unfortunately, Chess doesn't have J caps in his schedule, so
Unfortunate.
I think he really has to worry about it. But I think a lot of how this team goes down to is how well he performs with Deoxys Speed. Chess in the past has previously said that Deoxys Speed is a 22-point mon, so I am expecting big things from this Deoxys Speed. But if he can, I think the main good thing about Deoxys Speed is it does pressure a lot of prep. And it does enable a lot of other mons to essentially put in work. And I think there are a lot of mons on this team which will really appreciate not like the hazard stacking that Deoxys Speed does, but like the offensive pressure or like the screens that I can potentially provide for the team. And I actually think as well like his offensive core is like pretty. It actually like synergizes like pretty well. Defensively, this team is it's a bit more to be desired, but I think he's just basing it for like a more like offensive play style.
Jeremy, you got any thoughts other
Oh,
than just like the team consists of Deoxys speed and that's it?
I guess like the first five are I think pretty good and like solidify a lot of things. I just think that the bottom half just didn't like make up for a lot of things that lacks.
That's fair. I gotta say, the biggest thing that I like, or the first thing I noticed when I looked at this team, there is a gigantic speed clump on this team. So like,
There is.
you have like the fucking, so you have the Deoxys, which is like super fast. Whim is whatever, and then it goes down to, I guess, here's where the speed clump starts, I guess. So you have Nihilego at 103, and then Charizard at 100, Urshifu at 97, Kyurem at 95, and then Crocodile at 92. And then like everything, I think the next
Chadow's 91.
Oh, and Shadow's 91. I didn't know it was that fast. Oh
Yeah.
my god. So it's even worse than I thought it was. And
Boros is also like 110.
yeah, I guess I forgot about that. But that one's not really part of that speed clump. It's more so Nihilego onward.
You literally mentioned Whimsicott.
No, but like, whatever. That's not my. That wasn't the point I was trying to make. But either way, like after the Chatot, like it just drops down to like Scizor, which doesn't always run speed, and Lantern and Dusclops, which never run speed.
To be fair, I still think it's a like I do get what you're saying. I don't think it's like as bad as Vulcan's one where there is just no mon at all. Like you like Mega Sizzle will still like pressure certain monster on like some sort of speeds.
I guess, yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I get what you mean. To
it's
an
just like a
extent.
lot of.
I don't think it's a huge deal personally, but I get what you mean.
Also, the hazard situation is not particularly great because like your rockers are like DOS, Crook, and Nihilego, and like in a format like this, you don't really want to force Deoxys to run hazards at all, but especially rocks, which means you're forced to bring in Crook and Nihilego every week, which are
Need him in spikes on it.
And then past that, the hazard removal situation is like even worse because like there's technically 4 defoggers on this team, but like none of them, like Scizor you don't always want to run defog on, Whimsicott not always again, and then Charizard and Chatot are lucky if they even get brought. And then the last thing that I'll say about this team is that like past the top 3, which like can be versatile, like they could be bulky or offensive if they really needed to. The other 3, the back part of this team past the first 3 is like both underwhelming and kind of one-dimensional. Like Crook usually just like
Crook and Nihilego can be offensive and defensive at the same time as well.
Nihilego's defensive set is more niche, kind of the same with Crocodile.
Not really, because it has like 1,000,000 HP and 1,000,000 special defense, so like it's a pretty good special.
But it falls over to like any physical attack. Whimsicott,
yeah, but
I guess you can argue Whimsicott is more versatile since like it can be like just like life orb breaking, or like it can stall break with taunts, or be like an annoying subseed set. But like really, the bottom 6 are just like as one-dimensional as you can get. They basically only do one thing, and that's it.
Never ran a defensive Chatot.
Believe it or not, I've never used a Chatot in my life.
You're missing out.
I actually think Lantern and Charizard are more. They can be run more ways than you'd initially think. But I get what you mean, though. It's a fair comment. But I still think there is like I still think there is enough like. I think Ches can be a creative builder. I think there is like enough for him to like still be a bit unpredictable.
Like I did call this team bad, but Ches also says he loves using bad teams, so I'm sure he's going to do fine with it.
Yeah, but we cannot judge the coaches when it comes to this. Otherwise, Ches would be guaranteed 16.
True. All right, we've ranted enough about the stupid lawnmower team. Let's move on to our next team.
That team was perfect, by the way.
Number 10 on our list, going to Big Daddy Dave and the Chicago Conkelders. And his team consists of Tapu Koko, Mega Medicham, Gengar, Dracovish, Obstagoon, Talonflame, Shaman, Rhyperior, Fortress, Lapras, and Flygon. Give me your thoughts on this team.
I think he's really going to struggle to break teams down with this team. Like, it's so passive, man. It's incredibly passive. I do really like this team. It has a lot of like it's kind of it feels like kind of a team I'd like to use.
I also
My
feel
issue.
like he cannot deal with bulk of Zero at all.
my I do have a couple of issues with this team. First of all, like, is it really necessary to have all three of Mega Medicham, Obstagoon,
I
and
wrote the
Dracovic?
exact same thing.
Like,
I wrote the exact
like
same
I mean,
thing.
to be fair, like, it sounds fun as hell to use,
Oh,
but
for
like,
sure.
is
But like,
it
why?
really needed?
Yeah, like why that? Like
I mean-
the first three together are like great. I love the first three.
He literally thought. I think he literally thought to himself, "Future Coco into Breaker, let's go." Like, I think that's just
Yeah,
his
but
way
like
to
you
think.
you
He's
think
just like,
you'd think
you share
like
with
just getting
Coco into the
you think just
respective
getting Mega
mon.
Medicham
Like, if
and
he goes,
Gengar would be good enough for that. And then like he was just like, no, that's not enough. Let me get fucking
I mean-
Dracovish and Obstagoon.
I mean, Dracofish I thought was fine because like you can still like Dracofish can come in from the Yuchin from Coco into the ground surface, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that's still fine, but the Obstagoon is a little bit overkill.
Yeah, I like maybe you can argue Obstoon's like decent as like a status absorber in a sense, but then he kind of has a shaman as well, so it's kind of
Yeah,
like whatever, really. Um, my main issue of the team is like is very offensive, but I don't know if I'm that. I don't think he has like enough like fat pivots to basically.
What are you talking about? Fortress is the best fat pivot.
The less I'd say about Fortress, the better. But yeah, I like a lot of his momentum comes from his offense. I guess you can run bulky Talonflame. But when you're up against like
bulky Flygon too was pretty good at times.
when those come up against like breakers essentially, that they
Yeah,
aren't.
they're gonna fall over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
I
like
agree.
Fortress, you have to play it a certain way in order for it not to be passive. Like it has to like volt switch a lot. And the other thing I'm not that big on the hazards on this team.
Yeah, same.
I think it's just Rhyperior and the Fortress.
Fortress,
That's
yeah.
what I think. And his removal's probably like it's probably fine enough already.
For an offense team, yeah, those removal options are fine. I'm not sure how I feel about Lapras as like.
I mean, I guess I can
traditional
get Fortress
bulky
in a way. I can get Fortress in a way because you can just like spike rock / heat spike whatever the fuck you want to do, and then just explosion on something if they want to like really set up for some shit like that.
Yeah, I can get that. I think on the Lapras point, I think for the prices, I think like when you're looking at
Because we up fucking Lapras' price so much after like straight.
well, like if you're looking at like
messed
cheap
people
waters, I think Lapras is honestly like
I
fine.
mean, I guess I just feel like I would have prioritized a better water than like
Like
for example,
it can
why
like
is
it can
the- like
it
if,
can
like if
still
you just
do
take
the
out the
job.
if you take out the Obstagoon and get like a water in that spot instead, then like the team I think looks a lot better. And like also
I don't necessarily think like the water's the main issue. I just think like maybe like ditch Obstagoon and just get like better
Something.
flat
Something
pivots in
else.
general.
I'm not really sure how I feel about the Flygon thing. I don't really see why it's here because like you already have. I get that Dracovish doesn't always want to click a dragon move, but like you already have a defensive dragon or like a dragon type defensively rather, and one that quad resists fire, which I guess you don't always want to bring in that dragon type. And like you already have a ground in Rhyperior, which like I think is just like the better ground type than Flygon. So it's just kind of like, and also it has clashing speed tiers with Metachamp. I just don't really understand why it's here.
It's just another. The only thing I can think of is just another removal, but that's
Maybe you just liked it, you know.
yeah. We just. I mean, honestly, I feel like this is just a team of mods he just wants to use.
That
Dude, this is
also
such a
fair.
this is a
The
day
funny
and a
part-
half. Dude.
I think I like the one thing I wrote on my nose. I think I like the sum of the parts better than each individual mons. Like I think as a team, it looks better than like, say each individual mon on their own.
I still think it's kind of cool, but yeah, it just has
It's redundancy,
issues.
which like I guess can go both ways. All right. If we don't have any other thoughts, we can indeed move on.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, to to someone in this call. Jeremy, you got
Who
ranked
might
number
that
9.
be?
You got ranked number
Yeah.
9. All right, so Jeremy's team consists of Mega Mawile, Slowbro, Cinderace, Zarude, Buzzwole, Piloswine, Dragalge, Aerodactyl, Porygon, Z or Z, depending on where you live, and Volcanion. So Jeremy, this is your team, so we'll have you go last to get other people's thoughts.
Sure.
Why don't you tell us what you think about Jeremy's team?
Dog shit.
Fair enough.
That's all I have to say.
Remember when Has said we aren't reading out to the coaches for Chessmen, and he just says this immediately. Reminder, I just want to say, I put myself at like, I think 11 or 12, so these two both put me higher than that.
I did rank you decently high, I will say.
Yeah, I think I put you around middle personally. Like,
yeah, this is the middle.
I'm not really sure what I honestly think about this team, which I'm really glad Jeremy said because this is his team. But I don't know what to think about this. It's just weird. but I think it kind of works.
Okay.
It's pretty funny because
I have a little more thoughts, I guess, because I was the person who ranked Jeremy highest on our individual lists. I had you at number 6 for reference.
Number 6. Oh.
The one of the negatives against you is that like Mawile as both your only steel and fairy seems a little sus. Since like usually you don't want it. Like I guess it can be an offensive fairy, fine, but like it definitely doesn't fill the role of a traditional steel type. But past that, even though you only have 3 rockers on your team, 2 of your rockers with in Piloswine and Mega Arrow are very consistent, and even Mawile is like a. Or did I say Mega Arrow? I meant regular Arrow.
Yeah.
Both of those are like really consistent, and like even Mega Mawile is like a good offensive rocker if you need that. I think your pivots are great for your offensive threats, like just having all of Slowbro, Cinderace, Zarude, and even like Dragalge with Flip Turn. Now that's like a pretty threatening breaker with momentum, just to get in like your Mawile, your Volcanion, or like just whatever threat you need at the time is really good for your team synergy. I am a gigantic fan of the individual mons on your team. I just think like especially your last 4. I think those 4 are like Pokemon that don't get drafted as much recently, but I'm very high on all of them. Yeah, those are basically the main. I just really like the individual pieces of this team, and I didn't really. That part kind of overlooked how I viewed like the team as synergy wise, like as an actual team. Was just I just liked the individual pieces a lot more.
I was Mimo. I did actually have some stuff.
Okay.
Brandon's touched on a lot of the stuff I was gonna say. The other stuff I'd say is not huge on the removal. I don't usually class Cinderace as a remover per se, because if you're running rocks and you're court changing, then you aren't really getting rid of them. And then the other removers in like Aero and Volcanion share similar weaknesses, so I think that is kind of exploitable. I guess the other thing as well, which I think it's a huge issue, but it's something to note, is that the only rock resist is Mawile. But I think you have a lot of mons that can switch into Stone Edge, like Slowbro and like Buzzwole, so I think that's like probably fine. I think the speed tiers are generally pretty diverse. I think the team itself is like I think it synergizes well enough with each other. It does look a bit weird when you initially look at it, but I think it does kind of make sense all in all when you pull it together.
Yeah, that was one of the funnier parts. I was gonna say that earlier as well. Like, I'm pretty known to draft like very standard teams. So when I was drafting this, I was like, this looks so fucking weird, and I love it. Like, like a lot of these mods just aren't mods that I would usually draft, except for like Mawile. But it still like works as a team that I would use, if that makes sense. Because usually I really like to have like a lot of breakers and a lot of like offensive power, and just have like a lot of bulk on a lot of them. For example, Volcanion is bulky and can attack very hard. Same with Mawile, same with Buzzwole. Um, so that's what I like about this team personally. I think a lot of the synergies, like the small synergies, are really nice. Um, on the team as well. Like for example, like Slowbro is just super strong with Future Sight into teleport into like Buzzwole, for example, or like you said, Brandon, with the amount of pivots I have with teleport, U-turn, flip turn into any breaker that I just need at that point is just super strong. Um, one thing I do have noticed is that I think the team usually has a lot of problems with a lot of mons, but from what I've seen, it usually is fine enough for one mon to be a threat, like a huge threat, because I can just use two mons and then I'll be fine usually. But if say like two mons that are like very big threats to this team are on one team, then it's going to be very overpowering, and I have to really try and play around that kind of janky sets, which isn't most ideal, but I still like it because it's a very different type of team that I've drafted from what I normally do. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
that's why I like the team personally.
Yeah. I think
And
it looks good.
one thing that I do dislike is that, like I said, that removal was meh, and the rockets aren't that great, even if they are pretty reliable. Um, it's just like the hazard game is a little bit weak, and I'm usually a very big fan of just putting up the hazards, even though I don't really mind getting rid of hazards, but I think if you don't have a lot of hazards, you should at least have decent enough removal so you don't get overwhelmed by hazards. And my team is pretty heavy duty boots reliant because of that, with Cinderace, Arrow, and Volcanion already. And then maybe, like, for example, Buzzwole, if I don't want to bring Dragalge. So I will need boots for, like, say, T-Spikes. Or Slowbro.
Yep, that's fair. Alright, we've talked a lot about your team, Jeremy, and we're like well over an hour into the video for just the first half. So why don't we move on to the first team of the second half, which is Mr. Ian MC, coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Ian's team consists of the newly unbanned Zamazenta Crown, Latias, Nidoking, Tapu Bulu, Melodic, Silvally, Klefki, Colossal, Mega Pidgeot, Morpeko, and Drifblim. Tell us your thoughts on this team.
I guess I will.
Alright, yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Guess I will. I personally didn't like this team too much, but one thing I must say is that I usually do not like Ian's teams that he drafts, but he still does very well with them. And I could probably see that he would do the same thing in this season because this team does look solid. I'm not a fan of it myself. I think that Latias and Zamazenta is steel fighting, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, then I think those two are very, very strong together.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you would maybe think like, oh yeah, I would want a Latios because it's offensively better. No, I think Latios actually fits very, very well with that one. And then King like comes in to be more of a breaker as well. Like a lot of his team is very bulky as well. I just really like how that comes forth into his draft, like the defensive options and how strong those are. I just think that he's kind of reliant on maybe like say Klefki to get up the hazards, you know, and then like build pressure that way instead of actually having offensive pressure. But that's like a me thing. I think he himself could probably use this team very well, and that's why I think it's okay that he's actually at 8. For my own, like if I think about it myself.
Yeah, that's fair. If you're not here or still having mic problems, I can talk. It kind of seems like Haz is indeed having mic problems, so I guess I'll talk. I think Bulu Loki is like great support for this team because like one of the big problems with Zama is like no recovery. So getting like some passive recovery with grassy terrain is nice, and also reducing the earthquake damages that'll try to be or that will be aimed at Zamazenta, as well as with Nidoking as your primary ground. Like your Earth power doesn't really care about grassy terrain. One thing I will say, the hazards are a little bit dodgy, just because like Nidoking, I guess Nidoking's like a fine offensive rocker, but like sometimes you just need the coverage. Klefki can reliably run spikes, but like you're more looking for rocks every time. Like you're looking for hazards. Like rocks is like the must-have, and spikes is kind of just like a nicety. And then like Colossal, you don't want to bring Colossal every week, just because like like it's fine, but like like bringing him on that's quad weak to 2 things every week is certainly a choice. I also think low-key that Pidgeot is a fantastic pairing with the Zamazenta. I think it reminds me a lot of like how in Gen 7 we saw a lot of people pair Mega Gallade with Torn T, and you just use Mega Gallade to like just crush the steels and rocks, and then Torn would go ham with Hurricanes. And like this is gonna be similar, maybe not as potent, just because you could argue Torn is probably better than Pidgeot. But like there's also something to be said about never missing Hurricanes, I suppose. And also like just being able to pivot in to get Zamazenta in on the steel and rock types that are obviously going to try to switch into Pidgeot is going to be sick.
One thing I do think is kind of unfortunate, or not unfortunate, I guess not. It's just not good for the team. Is that his Dark type is more Pico, and more Pico isn't really a strong Dark type. Like yeah, it can be good in certain situations, but it's not like your original Dark type that can come like every single week.
Right.
So it's pretty hard to like. You have to maybe run Dark Silvally at times.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Silvally's a really good fit for this team.
Like yeah, for sure. But say like if he faces the Reuniclus, it's gonna be hard to break it. Like his best way to break it is maybe a physical Nidoking, having him bring like special defensive EVs for the Nidoking itself, which is something I've bought before. Then you still have the problem of say the Bulu getting rid of the earthquake damage and stuff like that. It's just not optimal, and I think he has to be really careful around a lot of psychics that can come his way. But I guess with Silvally Dark, which is a big, like Silvally can be any typing, right? It's pretty. That's why people like it so much.
It's pretty splashable.
Yeah, it's very splashable. I think that is something that can save that if the matchup does call for it.
Alright, so Has had to leave for a bit, so it'll just be me and Jeremy for the next little bit. So with that in mind, let us move on to the next team, which is Big Jaw and the Suburban.
Jaw,
Jaw, good buddy of ours.
Yeah.
His team consists of Mew, Komao, Rotom Heat, Araquanid, Skarmory, Mamoswine, Florges, Roselia, Type Null, Mega Absol, and Keldeo. Jeremy, you want to speak a little bit about Jaw's team?
Dude, this is such a Jaw team, dude. I know for a fact Jaw is going to use this well, even though I think that if I use this, I would go insane, because I don't know how I would use this ever. But I've very much faith. Like, I know we should rank upon coaches. That's why I personally put it very low. But I know for a fact that Jaw's going to use this pretty well. Even though it's very weird to me. I think that like Mew obviously is a fantastic Pokemon, and Komao is a fantastic Pokemon as well. Rotom can pivot into both for offensive sets. They're both very defensively reliable. They're just what this team very much has. It has a lot of bulk. It has on the top 4 end that can still like deal damage. He has a lot of very much reliable recovery while also having a lot or not recovery removers. While having a lot of hazards. One thing I actually like about this team, which I wasn't thinking I was going to say, is the Absol. I think Absol looks very good here, which is something I didn't think I would ever say in my life.
That's fair.
I like it here, personally. And I think Skarm is underrated. If it went to the 5th round, I think that's very underrated. I think Skarm is very good. Yeah. And this team works very well. As well.
I'm surprised you and Has ranked this team as low as you did, just because, like, for record, I ranked this, like, the 3rd best team. I really like this team. Even disregarding Jaw, which I know will use this team fantastically. I really like this team. So like you have your first two are just like two of some of the most versatile Pokemon in the game, right?
Mhm.
So like if there's ever a problem, like usually one of those two Pokemon can like be a solution to it.
Yes.
And then on top of that, like the hazards you said, there's like really good hazard options with Como, Skarmory, Araquanid, Roselia. Like there's decent options there, and I guess like Mew technically learns them even though you don't want. Oh, and Mammoth.
Yeah, and at the same time, he also has Absol. I'm pretty sure Absol has Magic Bounce, right?
Yes, it does.
Which can just like deteriorate like other people's hazards as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like the removers are like fine. Like again, you have Absol, which deters, and then you also have Skarm and Rotom and Florges, which are like fine defoggers. So like your hazard game is fine. I think Florges, like I know a lot of people are low on Florges, but I think Wish passing into both Como and Rotom Heat on this team is pretty dirty.
Yeah.
and even Type Null as well.
Type Null, yeah.
On top, Mega Absol, I will say, is like a little bit weird, but it is a late pick, so like if the Dark types weren't fantastic, I guess I can.
I also think that this team is one of the better teams to have a Florges on, because Florges, the one thing that people really didn't like that it like got removed is hidden power fire from it from Gen 7 to Gen 8, because in Gen 7 it was still used pretty like a lot. I would say, like because I never was a fan of Florges, but it was still used a lot, and now it's like never seen pretty much. But on this team, like for example, a Scizor, like a Mega Scizor, what is a Mega Scizor going to do to the Komodo, to the Rotom Heat, to the Skarmory, you know, like all of these mons that just, or maybe if it wants to switch it to the Absol and the Fire Blast, it's like, yo, well, you're just gonna die, right? Like I think the Florges has a lot of support in terms of, while it is supporting the other mons, in terms of what it's weak to.
Yeah,
being primarily Steel.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I don't like about this team, however, is the kind of struggle to break waters. Specifically, I'm not really a fan of Keldeo as a last pick. I like Keldeo as a Pokemon, but I don't think on this team it makes sense. Just because like
could have been something else.
Your Grass type is Roselia, which like come on. And your electric type is Rotom Heat, which also doesn't want to necessarily stay in on water. I have a saying where like Rotom Heat is a fine fire type, but I don't think it's a very good electric type.
Yeah.
So like Keldeo, like I remember when I was looking, he had 14 points left for his last pick, and I thought, oh man, he's definitely going to take Kartana here. I think like Kartana solves a lot of problems that his team has, but then he picked Keldeo. Which again,
yeah, for example,
like I think Keldeo's a fine mon again, but I think Kartana just fits this team way better.
Yeah, and at the same time, for example, like a Komodo doesn't always want to switch in onto Skulls if it's like physical.
Yeah.
Like if it's special, it's fine, but like if it's physical, they really doesn't want to switch into the Skulls that are going to be a problem to the team.
Especially when like this was like the second water along with Araquanid, and like neither of which are like the most bulky. Like they're both like bulky offense Pokemon, but they're not like a traditional bulky water. So like
Araquanid is pretty fat still, I think, but it's not as like a Suicune, you know, like a very fat build.
I guess that's more of a personal taste. I think I would like to see Kartana as the last Pokemon instead of Keldeo, but I'm sure. I'm sure Jaw.
You saying it? Because I was thinking like, okay, what 14-point mons? Because it's 14, right, or 13?
Yeah,
I think it's 14. What 14-point mons are like good here? And then you said Kartana. I was like, yes, that fits perfectly. What? Like, why didn't he get that? But yeah. I guess that it's still a very good team, and has a lot of pivots, has a lot of support for each other.
I still like the team. Nice. It's just more of a personal.
Yeah. The only thing, I guess maybe he got Keldeo for the extra speed, because the speed isn't that great.
But like Kartana's only one speed point above it. Like Keldeo's 108 and Kartana's 109, so like it's still filling a similar speed.
Yeah, I forgot that. No, I don't know. I think Kartana would have fit this team way better as well.
Yeah. All right. We've talked a lot about
especially with. Just go on. Sorry.
Go ahead. Get your last point. Get your last point in.
Especially with like, say Mew, like, if it's like a utility, like taunt set with U-turn or something, like U-turning. Usually people will go into like say a Scizor, right? If they know it's not flamethrower or whatever, you just U-turn, getting your Rotom Heat, then Volt Switch onto whatever comes in. Is probably get like what comes in on a Rotom. What's something that you can think of that comes in on a Rotom, real quick?
Garchomp or something, or like a Zygarde. Like they can't necessarily switch in, but like it definitely has trouble dealing with dragons.
ooh, actually, Seismitoad or Swampert. You can maybe
Sure,
double
yeah.
into the Kartana and then just be a menace, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which is less than Keldeo, which doesn't really have that synergy either.
Alright, we've talked a lot about Jaws' team, so why don't we move on to our number 6 team, which, well, I mean, you'll see when we see it. We have Zern and the I'm Shit Diglett. Brilliant team name. Not at all trying. Not
The
at all
logo
a
even
meme
better.
name. Not at all a meme name. So his team consists of Zeraora, Latios, Dragonite. Yes, that is Latios and Dragonite back to back. Heatran, Primarina, Alolan Muck, Celebi, Quagsire, Mega Heracross, Gothorita, and Pikachu. Jeremy, give us your thoughts on Zern's team.
I hate Zern. I guess I'm I like Zern a lot. I think like he and I think kind of like we're not great friends or whatever. We don't talk a lot, but like when we talk, I think we can laugh pretty well with each other. Um, so when he picked round 3 Dragonite, I was like, yo, this dude, I hate him because I really wanted Mega Maw and Dragonite from the start. Even before the season, I really wanted both of those. And then he got around for you with the Latios, and I was like, dude, please, just get Salamence, dude, just get Salamence. And he was like, no, I need Dragonite.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think this team, honestly, is actually very, very good. I think you rounded out very well.
I did.
Pikachu,
Yes.
Pikachu is very important to the team.
Yes, for sure. With Zeraora already.
Yeah, yeah. He has a very nice speed in Zero Aura. Other than that, like it goes down to Latios, which is unfortunate, but it's fine enough. It's a better speed than we've seen before. And then he has Dragonite, which honestly, like you can think, why did you get 2 dragons? But Dragon's one isn't that weird because one of them can deal with like the Fairy, for example, or the Steel, and then like for example, Primarina later on, or the Heatran that can break a Steel or whatever, can just be Scarf and then, for example, just beat it down, or with say Latios breaking a Steel for Fairy for Dragonite to just outreach them after your DD or Sword Stance, which is I think still pretty good synergy. That's why I also like Heatran, Ice Beam Resist, and same with Primarina, Ice Beam Resist. They just function very well with the dragons. I don't think Zero Aura was greatly supported, but I think the dragons were very well supported in this team, in particular.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to. Well, I mean, I basically really only have like negative comments about this team, just because like it just looks
Yeah,
so weird.
Yeah, it looks pretty weird. I think it works solidly together.
So first off, the rockers are a little lacking. Believe me, I'm like the biggest Celebi stan ever. But just only having Celebi and Heatran seems a little weird.
I mean, they're solid rockers.
Yeah, they're definitely
so.
reliable, but it's just like I just figured you'd want at least like one more. At the same, there's a lot of pressure on Muck. There's a lot of pressure on Muck to be the Ghost Resist, especially seeing you have both Latios and Celebi, and even Gothorita to an extent. Even though I don't know how often you're gonna bring that.
Yeah, that's true.
But like Muck's gonna be your primary Ghost Resist, and like the Pinch Berries got nerfed this gen, and you don't have a Wish Passer for it.
I guess you get a Healing Wish with Celebi, which is nice. But,
I guess yeah,
it's not optimal.
Like that. Also, the moment, maybe I'm wrong about this, but like the momentum feels a little bit weird, because like there's like not a lot of times where you want Volt Switch on Zeraora. Primarina can freely run Flip Turn pretty well, especially on a spec set, and like even Celebi, like again, I'm like the biggest Celebi stan ever, but like there are just some times where you just cannot fit U-Turn onto a set no matter how much you want it.
Yeah,
especially with like how offensive this team is. Like the best part about offensive teams is just like having lots of pivots to get the proper breakers in at the right time. And like there's just not going to be, in my opinion, I don't think there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to be able to, like, again, you can fit Flip Turn on Prim pretty easily, but like there's not going to be a lot of times where you can fit Volt Switch on Zera or U-Turn on Celebi.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this team was didn't really need that much like momentum moves, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, they're nice to have, for sure, but I didn't think he needed it on a lot of these mons because of the pivot, or not like the mons that can come in usually tend to deal with whatever is in front of it well enough that it doesn't really need to chip them down through momentum moves.
That's fair. I don't know. I still think this team just looks weird as all.
It does look weird, but I think it's still very good. But I'm personally like I've thought about it. Like last season, I really wanted to maybe get like dragon spam, like maybe 2 or 3 dragons and just a Magnezone and an extra steel or fairy. I was like really thinking about that because I really thought like the idea of it. I think he executed it pretty well, even though he didn't get Magnezone.
He definitely pressures steals a lot. Like you have freaking Latios, Dragonite, and Primarina, and then also a Heatran on top of that.
And then Heatran also like deals with a lot of the water types that like Dragonite might not like, through like Magma Storm Toxic.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright,
which is something I like.
Yeah. Alright, we've talked about Zern's team a lot, in my opinion, a little more than maybe granted. I'm just not a fan of this team. But either way, let's move on to Big Sharky, who's our number 5, coach of the Dakota Darkrise. His team consists of Funny Bear, Clefable, Mega Aerodactyl, Melmetal, Seismitoad, Raikou, Tangrowth, Licky Licky, Rotom Frost, Skuntank, and Illumise. Jeremy, your thoughts on this team?
I really like how I like his first pick, Brandon, the Funny Bear.
That's Urshifu single, if you care to on.
Yeah, Urshifu single. Urshifu single, stupid mon, absolutely disgusting. I could have picked it myself, I just want a Maw. And then paired with Clefable is something that's very nice. Clefable is very strong this gen. Seen Shark can use it in the past, but mostly in 8mon, and he's done quite well with it. Then Aerodactyl, which gives a lot of speed to the kind of slow core that he has going on. And to be more, like, he doesn't really need Scarf on Urshifu as much anymore because of that, which is nice.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I guess Melmetal to be like a lot of, and the Melmetal into Seismitoad, which gives a lot of physical switch-ins, if that makes sense, with Tangrowth in the back as well. But Tangrowth usually is probably going to be AV on this team. I think his defensive core, I personally put him pretty highly. I think his defensive core is pretty good. I think his offense is lacking in ways, but I think a lot of his mons can make up for that, if that makes sense. And like some teams that we had before that don't really have the option to maybe set up as much or like break as well as they should for the rest of their team, which I think this team can actually do.
Yeah, I did say like I don't think the physical breaking is not the issue, obviously, with Urshifu and Melmetal.
Yeah.
The problem is definitely the special breaking. However, there is something to be said that like Mega Arrow is probably one of the best stall breakers in the game. So like in a way he can kind of get around that.
Yeah, and does the stall really matter when you can just CM with Clefable, you know?
That too.
Which is also
that's a good stall breaker too. There's only 3 rockers, and like granted, while Seismitoad can run rocks every week if you bring it, like there's gonna be times where you can't always fit it on your team. Especially with like Clefable almost never wants to run rocks. It's like a last resort, and like Arrow, I guess, is like neither here nor there. Doesn't mind it really. I will say Licky Licky is kind of cool to alleviate the pressure of Wish Passing off of Clefable, to open it up to be a little more versatile. Although I will say Clef is the better Wish Passer for Melmetal specifically. And the weird thing, I don't understand why Rotom Frost was a pick that Sharky made when he already had a Raikou. Especially when Dybro tried to get it because like Sharky had been skipped a bunch. But
Rotom Frost and Raikou do different things.
Oh, hello, Haz, he's back.
Bro, I've been back since job. I haven't been able to get a word in.
Apologies.
Oh, whoops.
We just thought you were gone, to be honest.
Bro, it looked like you had it covered anyway, so I just listened in the background. But I think like Rotom Frost, like it's more of like a defense. Like one, it gives him more removal. Secondly, it's like it's very just more for like bulk. And the other thing as well is Rotom Frost could deal with like fat grass types. like compared to Raikou, which can struggle with certain fat grass types as well. So
That's
I
true.
think I think it's fine. It gives him like another pivot into Urshifu or like or whatever. So
As much
I
as I'm
think the pick's fine.
as I'm a fan of the Sharky team, he does struggle with something like a Mega Midi. He doesn't struggle with Mega Gallade because of Illumise, but
Yeah, his I'm like his fighting resists are like Clefable and then Illumise. So basically
I mean,
Clefable.
Illumise deals with Mega Gallade, for example, which is nice, but you know, it's not as great as you
It's
probably
still
want it.
Illumise.
I mean, to be fair,
at the end.
like most fighting types are going to be physical anyways, and like Tangrowth is kind of a premier physical, like
Yeah.
defensive check. So like you kind of get around it. Like it's not gonna like Tangrowth's not gonna get 2 KO'd by random poison jab.
Yeah, like a Lop isn't gonna do anything to this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess the other things I had to say about this team was I think it's also maybe a bit weak to fire types as well. Like Arrow and Seismitoad are like decent resists, but they're also like Aerodactyl's offensive and Seismitoad doesn't really have recovery.
Yeah,
so
Toad gets beaten
annoying.
down rather easily in like every matchup. Is the big problem. With
It's just relying on basically wish.
Oh no, I think Arrow has actually a very good fire switch still.
No, it can be, but if you like rocks up, for example, then you're like,
yeah, I guess.
Taking it, it's a bit annoying. The other thing I have to say about as well is it seems a bit weak to Rocky Helmet. I think.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
At least his offensive mons. Like you have like Urshifu, Melmetal, Mega Arrow all don't really appreciate Rocky Helmet mons.
Yeah.
And like his knockoff switcher, his knockoff, he has knockoff mons, but they aren't like the best knockoff.
They aren't premium.
Like some of them are like okay.
Yeah, like when we were talking about Vulcan's team all that time ago, where like he has the premier ones with like Weavile and Lando.
Yeah, and like a lot of the mons which do have knockoff, like they can't always fill it in. Is the other thing. So
yeah,
it's just,
that is also fair. All right. Well, if none of us have anything more to say, we can move on to number 4, which is the big commissioner himself, Mr. Jack, coach of the Los Angeles Larvatars. Team consisting of Dragapult, Rotom Wash, Excadrill, Mienshao, Galarian Weezing, Mega Charizard Y, Uxie, Umbreon, Gigalith, and Venusaur. Jeremy and I have talked by ourselves for a long time, so why don't you start off with your thoughts?
You know what? I am absolutely amazed the day has come where I'm doing a speed boost PR. I do not see a Dragapult with a Mega Medi on my screen. I never thought I'd ever see
that. That is true.
Thank fuck.
I swear.
I mean, you know what? I can't even say that because I was helping.
Have we done? We've done 8.
Bro, I was gonna, if he'd done the same, I was just gonna recycle my notes from Hike and Spoink, to be honest.
Yeah. How many seasons have we done with 10-8? Because like this is like
this is the 4th season.
Every single season, I'm pretty sure there was a Dragon Ball Mega Midi team. It was fucking annoying.
In the first season have it, but all the other ones have.
Remember, like last season, like I literally said, "Oh wow, here's the Dragon Ball Midi team. I'm so surprised," and it's fucking like very high up.
But, you know, I do think this is a pretty interesting premise he has here, where he's basically, I think he's basically taking like different archetypes and just putting them together. Like you see like stuff like I saw Polt drill maybe a lot like the start of the gen during like Galadex maybe. Don't really see it too much anymore, but I do think that's a pretty interesting combination. And he's also paired up with Zardwai, which I think is I think that's actually a pretty solid pairing. Like Zardwai can switch into a lot of like the fat berries that Dragapult doesn't appreciate, and it kind of goes in as well. And then he also has stuff like I think the Mienshaw's a very good pick as well. Being able to like break down the dark types, and it also gives him like more momentum as well.
Yes, Ghost and Fighting is a good combination of types to have.
Yep. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think Rotom Wash is always like he's got like very solid pivots, like fat pivots, or like Rotom, Uxie, I think Umbreon's like, I'm not huge on Umbreon, but on this team I think it's fine. Like if he plays smartly with it and it doesn't like get abused, then I think it does the job it needs to.
Getting a good ghost resist for a Dragon Ball team is pretty necessary.
Yeah. And yeah, I think like there is an argument that could be made that this team does kind of rely on the weather, but the thing is, a lot of like the mons themselves are pretty easy. Like it's pretty easy to bring Zardwai because Zardwai usually has like a really good offensive matchup most weeks.
And like about this team is how it's like it's pretty much like the Gen 6 general like Sand team, but it's adapted to Jenny, which I really like. And it's still like has the same amount of power and like things that it checks off is still like very much alike, and I like that it's like very much alike, but it's still different and has adapted and works very well.
This team definitely isn't good without the weather, but I think it can still function without the weather, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like I guess
I don't know. There's like I guess like
never.
The big thing is like when you look at the weather Pokemon on this team, it's like when you don't bring weather, what mons are you benching? And it's honestly just the Gigalith and the Venusaur, right? Yard on its own is gonna be fine, and like Excadrill without sand is also fine. Maybe not ideal, but fine and serviceable. It's like there's still some options there.
Yeah. Yeah. All in all, I think this was like a pretty cool team. Does this team have I don't think this team has a normal type.
No, it doesn't. But like,
it doesn't.
But like, Umbreon is like one of the best. Ghost like, despite being passive.
Yeah.
Like, it's still one of the best ghost resists you can ask.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's certain ghost types that can abuse it, but I think that's pretty hard to do. But that's just something to keep in mind as well.
I really like the in total defensive core. Specifically with like Uxie, Umbreon, and Weezing, just because like
the way a ghost type can deal with Umbreon is, I don't know if it even gets it, Taunt Gengar, and then disable the foul play with your ability.
Yeah, it could run like disable.
I don't even know if it gets taunt, but it sounded funny to me in my head.
It does get taunt.
It just sounded funny to me in my head, but no, like, I don't think
Umbreon and Uxie together sounds good, except for bug types, which even though like, I mean, I think it's like pretty accepted at this point that like bug is objectively the worst type competitively. But like there are some that still get drafted, but like Weezing.
Yeah, well, I mean the issue is they have to face a whole Zardwai.
Yeah, that too.
And even Zardwai. So like I think actually that core is going to be decently hard to break down with just like single mons, which I really like.
No, I get that. Yeah, he just has to play a bit. He has to basically be smart with the way he uses them. That's the thing, so they get abused. But I think he can certainly do that. Cool team.
Yeah. Definitely a lot different than a lot of the Dragon Ball teams we have seen recently, which is definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Congratulations, Jack, on not copying Jeremy's team like last season.
Alright. So, we will move on then to number 3, which is everyone's favorite speed boost coach, Mr. Spoink, coach of the Des Moines Delibirds, if I pronounce that right. Des Moines, sure. His team consists of Mega Gallade, Zapdos, Ferrothorn, Nidoqueen, Spectrier, Volcarona, Gastrodon, Audino, Crawdon, Clefairy, and Dragonair. Jeremy, I believe you said you didn't really like his team, even though despite it being overall ranked number 3. So why don't you tell us what you think about Spoink's team?
I mean, it's a menace. I just think I don't like how niche a lot of the mons are that are like menaces, like especially your Volcarona and Crawdon are menaces, but they're not like always good. I think Volcarona has definitely got a more splashable this gen because of boots, and it can be more defensive usually now. So I think that like kind of hinders him at times, because sometimes they just don't have good matchups, right? So I think it's sometimes way harder to use this team than it could be like on paper. Like if you look at it right now, it's like a menace. It looks very strong. I think that if you think about it in practice, it's going to be harder to use all the time because of that. That being said, it's still a very strong team, but I wasn't as big of a fan as I think other people were of the team. I'm not sure where I exactly put it. I think it was 6, which is still pretty high. I just didn't think it was as high as um, like others here fought. And still 3, I think, is a pretty good placement for him because it's still a menace of a team and it's still like very strong in a lot of ways.
All right, Haz, what do you think about Spoink's team?
It's not Spoink team that I hate. It's Spoink that I hate.
Fair enough.
True.
Fair enough.
No, I actually think this is a really smartly built team. I can definitely understand why you're trying to go for it. Both
Oh yeah, for sure.
offensively and defensively. I think the offensive core of like I think this is an incredibly good Mega Gallade team. Like
yeah.
For
he gets Zapdos is like being like a really like good pivot around. Ferrothorn is good not just for the spike stacking can do, but also getting chip through Iron Barb, so we can suffer Gallade, which is nice. And then Pharaoh plus Nidoqueen. Not only does that pressure fairies very well, but it also creates a very strong hazard stacking core. And like even though boots is a thing, we've seen more recently that people are starting to become a bit more complacent about bringing boots. So I can see that being like rather effective. And then I think Spectre and Volcarona, yes, they are kind of niche, but I think on this team, I think like you can generally bring at least one of them each week, and they'll probably end up being effective.
Yeah.
Like both of them like pressure like bulky psychics to like to a crazy amount. And then he's gone and then like I mean I think Gastrodon's just I think that's like a fine like bulky water. Like it synergizes pretty well with like Zapdos and Ferrothorn, so I understand why it's on that.
Volcarona.
I'm not sure if I love. I mean, Ordino's like fine, really. Like Ordino's just a solid like ghost check and just like a solid pivot in of itself. So I think that pick's fine. I think that does allow him also to get Crawdon as his dark as well, which I think like he definitely need another physical breaker. Looking at the rest of his team. So I think that was a good pick. Clefairy's like, I guess he needed the fairy type, and this probably should have been BM's fairy type. So I don't. Can I really count this? I don't know. I think he just has a Dragonair because I don't actually know why he has a Dragonair on this team. To be honest, I don't really get that pick, but
I don't know. It's a one.
I mean, Dragonair like it actually can be pretty bulky with some stuff. So.
All right.
Dragonair.
For clarity's sake, I rank Spoink's team at number 1. So I really love this team. I think the offensive toolbox that he has is just phenomenal. So like you have your immediate wall breaker with your Crawdon, you have your cleaner already set up with your Spectre, and you have a setup threat in Volcarona. And then let's not forget, on top of that, you just have like Mega Gallade, Zapdos, and Nidoqueen to try to deal with offensively. And those 3 are like also incredibly versatile, so you can just like mix and match whatever combination of moves and Pokemon for every matchup. So
Same with Volcarona.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to, like it is a premier setup Pokemon, but like Volcarona doesn't have to set up to be threatening.
It can also be a defensive bitch to deal with, like at times.
As far as his defensive core goes, like again, Spoink Jesus has touched on it, and like Gastrodon is like, I think Gastrodon and Audino are phenomenal on this team. So like Gastrodon is going to be a bitch to kill because obviously you aim grass types at it, but then Spoink can just switch into either Ferrothorn, Zapdos, or Volcarona, and then those grass types do nothing. Same thing with Audino. It's like a great ghost check in case teams want to try to counter sweep Gallade or Spectre with the Scarf Ghost type. And then at the same time, he has like the best fighting resist in the game with Zapdos, so like Autono doesn't really care that much. And also Wish passing into another fighting resist in Nidoqueen, which doesn't have recovery, sounds really gross. And Wish passing into Ferrothorn, even though that probably won't happen as much. There is something to be said about Clefairy, because like, you know, Clefairy's a Clefairy. But at the same time, it's mitigated by the fact that, like, again, you have a great fighting check with Zapdos, so like Clefairy doesn't have to be a fighting check. And Ferrothorn being able to resist a bunch of Dragon types is also a good thing. So like Clefairy, like having a low tier fairy isn't like that big of a deal for Spoink's team in my opinion. Kind of the same thing with Dragonair. Like a lot of the reasons you want a Dragon, defensively anyways, is to resist the what I call elemental types, which are just like Grass, Fire, Water, Electric. For electric attacks, you have like Gastrodon, Ferrothorn, which are very reliable, and Nidoqueen. Water types, you have Ferrothorn and Gastrodon again. With fire types, you have Gastrodon again. And then grass types, like I mentioned, like what's a grass type going to do to Ferrothorn, Volcarona, and Zapdos? The only thing I would have liked to see from Spoink's team is maybe one more reliable rocker. It's like you have like Nidoqueen and Ferrothorn, and like you're not always going to bring Clefairy. So like, I don't know, maybe just, I don't know where you would fit it exactly, but just like one more reliable rocker would have been nice. Like maybe the Dragonair could have been something else, I don't know. But I really like this team. I think it's like incredibly threatening, and I hope Spoink uses it to its full potential.
My only other issues with the team, I think Zapdos is actually a bit pressured. I think it's like the only flying resist, and like Zapdos is basically the best flying resist in the game. But if that's gone, then he's pretty susceptible to a good amount of flying types. And also, I think it's like his only like real remover. And I just want to, like, honestly, Volcarona can actually, like with Boot Style, I think Volcarona actually isn't a bad remover.
There's also something to be said about like Gallade and Nidoqueen taunting slower rockers.
Yeah, I guess, but that's not necessarily like always like reliable per se. You know what I mean? Fair. But yeah, like I just think Zapdos is a bit pressured. I also think like Ordino Clefairy is maybe, like, I don't want to call it redundant, but they're just kind of similar mons. So like maybe you could have like maybe made a couple changes around and then maybe upgraded Dragonair. But I think it's a pretty good team.
That's fair.
I think it's well built.
I definitely rate this team higher than most people.
But unfortunately, Spoink's just gonna bring curse, like some stupid curse Zapdos, and let it die, and then he's gonna lose the game. So.
All right, we've talked a lot about Spoink's team, so let us move on to our number 2 spot, which is the man I robbed of an auto promotion last season in Poison Point. We have Big Ethan, coach of the Nashville Predators. And his team consists of Landoi, Aegislash, Hydreigon, Vaporeon, Snorlax, Deoxys Defense, Toxtricity, Ribombee, Granbull, Hariyama, Mega Abomasnow, and Trapinch. Jeremy, give us your thoughts on this team.
I personally really like Even's team. I actually touched on it with Haz earlier as well. I really like Even's team. The only one that I don't really like is Deoxys, and I think Ribombee is a little bit meh. But other than that, I think a lot of the mods are very good. I think Hariyama and Abomasnow are underrated, and Granbull isn't great anymore, but it's still like it gets the job done. And like the top 5 is so good in Toxtricity. I'm pretty sure you used like 2 seasons ago in Poison Point and used it so well, like insanely well. I think you can really use it to its full potential. I'm personally a big fan of Landoi and Hydreigon. I think Vaporeon really helps those two doing their jobs. One thing it also helps Toxtricity because like Lando, Hydreigon, and Vaporeon all get the momentum into like from say them going into the grass type, and then they use the momentum move into the Toxtricity, and just like it goes hand. I think this team is very also like it supports each other very well, while at the same time being very strong in their own ways. Like say Landoi can just carry a team on its own just because of its breaking ability. or Vaporeon with its just the defensive backbone of a Vaporeon can be, especially on this type of team, it's just insane. One thing I do must notice is that this team's speed is holy garbage. Like it goes for Bombi, then Landoi, and then it just like it's not good. It's not good at all. But I've had worse speed before, and I think I could use it well as well. You just gotta be
the thing with the speed
wary
thing,
of it.
the thing with the speed thing is yes, the speed is pretty trash, but a lot of his monsters have like natural bulk to where
Yeah, true,
you
true,
can
yeah.
kind of play around it. Like having the Vaporeon for 1 week, yeah, I think will help that. Honestly, I actually think I personally think I think the Vaporeon to Milotic trade hurts him ever so slightly. I actually think Vaporeon's probably a bit better on this team personally, but I don't think it's that big of a deal personally. Like if he's more comfortable with Milotic, then that's completely fine. That's just my personal take.
They're kind of the same. The only thing that really changes is like Scald switch-ins, which
yeah, I know. The other
he
thing
honestly
is
has a Abomasnow for.
I guess he can run Heal Bell with like Gramble. I think the Wish Ball can be kind of useful. Just
True, yeah.
keep that bulk up, you know. But yeah, I think this team is like really good. I'm a big fan of it. I think
the Abomasnow is very well supported as well.
yeah.
2 fake fat mons with like a very fat water and Hydreigon.
Yeah, I
Support
think
very well.
I think Aegis / Hydreigons are the immensely good core, and I think Landoi is very good as well, and he's actually got some like good low key support with that, like stuff like I think Snorlax is a decent support with that. Toxtricity is actually pretty like Ethan's used Toxtricity incredibly well in the past, so I can see that thing pulling in work again. I think the Mega Abomasnow pick's actually pretty cool as well. You don't see that too often, and I can see it working on this team as well. Especially, I actually think it actually is like pretty good with like Landoi as well. It's able to break down like bulky waters and like bulky grass types, or essentially just like ground resistant immunities. So I all in all, I like this team a lot.
Alright, for context's sake, I rank this team a little bit lower than Haz and Jeremy did. I do think Rabombi on this team is like absolutely pivotal because, like Jeremy said, the speed is poo-poo. So like having good natural speed plus the ability to set up webs is obviously going to be great for the likes of Landoi, Hydra, and to an extent Aegislash. I will say, unlike with Dave, where with Dave's team, I liked the sum of the team better, like the team as a whole, compared to the individual mons. I think I like the individual mons on this team better than like what they make together as a team. So like Landoi, the whole reason like Landoi and Weavile is such a prominent core is that like Landoi forces a lot of Spadef psychic types, since like it doesn't have a lot of great coverage for those things specifically. So you usually want your dark type to like be physically attacking, and that's just like with Hydra usually always wants to be specially attacking. And like Aegislash, I guess you can kind of go either way, but like for the most part you want to be spamming Shadow Balls instead of Shadow Claws. I guess that like again, Vaporeon got traded away week 1, but like on this roster, Vaporeon's wish targets aren't fantastic. It's really just like Snorlax. And I guess to an extent Granbull. But at the same time, I'm not really a fan of any of the bottom picks. I don't think a lot of them were like especially Granbull. I don't think Granbull was necessary at all.
I think you just got Granbull because he wasn't comfortable with Rabombi being the fairy type on the team. Really.
I mean, I guess, but like at the same time, like you have like one of the best fighting resists in Deoxys defense, and then like as far as dragons go, like I don't know, Aegislash is like fine to switch into dragons. Like I don't know, I guess that's the one thing you're scared of, because like personally for me, I think just like trading away the bottom 4 and then getting like higher quality fighting and like whatever else you want / need, I think would have been better, instead of having instead of having like Granbull and then a bunch of other kind of underwhelming mons. Because like even with web support, like Mega Bombs is not outspeeding anything. Now that being said, I had forgotten about Vaporeon being traded away from Melodic, so Granbull does make a little more sense in the fact that it's going to be a cleric, like a heal bell cleric, instead of always with Vaporeon. Because like if Vaporeon's still there, there's like no point in the Granbull. But like now that it's gone, I guess it makes a little more sense. I don't know, this team. I like the individual pieces of this team. I just don't really see a ton of synergy together, other than like webs with Landawai being disgusting.
I'm not gonna defend the Trapinch, but I will defend the other mods in the sense that those two also help him get more physical breakers as well, which I think this team was kind of lacking. Like Flame Orb parry armor is like incredibly difficult to switch into. Even Granbull, like as an offensive fairy, can be like pretty good because it's able to get ground coverage, and it's actually able to break down a lot of the steel types, which actually Rabombi appreciates as well. So I think that's actually a pretty interesting variant of fairy spam. I think the other thing as well is like Vaporeon Wish spamming into Aegis is actually incredibly useful. Keeping Aegis' longevity so it's able to switch into a lot more things, and you can be a bit more aggressive with it as well.
I suppose, but that's also gone after week 1.
Yeah, it is gone off this week, but we're judging the initial team.
Right.
But yeah, like I wasn't here during Ian's thing, but I think Vaporeon is incredibly good on Ian's team.
That is
as well.
And we didn't really touch upon it. We just touched upon Milo.
Oh, okay, but yeah. I was gonna say I like that addition to Ian's team, but I do personally prefer Vaporeon to Milotic, but I honestly don't think the Trapinch was really doing anything anyway. So
yeah,
it's
like 1 point you just pick up a shit.
I'm pretty sure you just got it because like we told him that it doesn't really matter for him.
Yeah, well, yeah. Trapinch can like maybe it can like trap a mon which has like a sugar berry for something to hit Lando. Awesome. I don't know.
We've talked a lot about Ethan. We've talked a lot about Ethan's team, so let's move on to our number 1 team, which if you've been keeping track of, you already know what it is. But in case you haven't been, our number 1 ranked team is Mr. Harris, coach of the Atlanta Braviaries, and his team consists of Tornadus Therian, Necrozma, Infernape, Galarian Slowking, everyone's favorite new mon in this generation, Registeel, Comfey, Mega Garchomp, Zoroark, Alomamala, Quilladin, and Regigigas. So, Jeremy, give us your thoughts on this thing.
When I've talked about it before, I actually really like every single mon in this team, except, I mean, not every single one. Like, there are 4 mons that I don't really like on this team, but I think they very much provide for this particular team very well, being Registeel, Comfey, and Zoroark, and Alomamala. I just think they like really help like glue this team into something that like functions. Even though I'm not a big fan of the mons themselves in the gen. With Torn, Necrozma, Infernape, and Slowking and Mega Garchomp as your main primary 5, all of these 4 mons can like do something that just helps all of these 5, or like 4 or 3 maybe even, if he wants to bring something else. With, say, like Comfey being able to check a lot of the dark types, which Necrozma and Slowking do struggle with. You don't really want to use Infernape or Tornadus all the time to check them. Registeel being able to be such a reliable rocker with Mega Garchomp as well, and Necrozma and Infernape, but they don't always want to run it, especially Necrozma now because of how versatile it is. Registeel is very much just, I can do this all the time, so I'll just do it for you. And Aloe, like, I think those two are very passive, but they just very well synergize with this team, being able to, like, for example, Wish with Aloe into Necrozma, not really needing to always stay in on something to recover. For example, if he has a Medicham in front of him, he can, he doesn't have to just click the recovery move because of the Alomamala in the back, being able to Wish that mon up. I also like Slowking Gal or Slowking to have another Psychic, so it can actually deal with something like a Medicham. Um, Even if Slowking is very much strong on its own, I just think this team very well mashes with each other and um, helps each other in a lot of ways, which makes it for me the number one team.
All right, Haz, what do you have to say about Harris's team?
I don't actually have that much to say. I think like I agree with Jeremy. I think a lot of the picks are very efficient in terms of like the roles they provide for the team, and I think there's a lot of mons which are also like very are kind of versatile in like what they can provide. But there's also a lot of like specialists as well, which kind of do that one job, but they really help like glue the team together. All in all. I guess my only issues with this team is I'm not the biggest fan of the removal on this team, because a Torn doesn't always want to run defog, and then the only other defog is Klefki, not Klefki, Comfy, sorry.
Convey, yeah. Which you're not bringing much.
Yeah, and I guess the only flying resist is I think a Registeel.
I mean, Alamomola usually takes flyings pretty easily.
Yeah,
Physical flyers anyway.
Physical ones, but yeah.
Like say, like it wasn't drafted, but say like you face a Staraptor, Alamomola, which is tanky forever and ever.
Yeah, all in all, I think it's a pretty solid team though.
Yeah, I think like my one complaint is that like, well, I guess my one joke complaint is that like this team is incredibly basic. Like it just looks like a bunch of stuff we've already seen in this gen, where like you have your mons that like you have your glue mons that will probably do the same thing every game, and then like a couple of versatile mons and like Torn, Necrozma, and Infernape that will like do similar or like will provide a lot of pressure in building. Let's say. The other thing I'm not a gigantic fan of, and again this is just like my personal thing, is like the ghost resists are a little shaky. It's like Zoroark and Regigigas, which like you don't want to bring Regigigas literally every time that there's a ghost type. But at the same time, Aloe wish passing into both Registeel and Regigigas seems pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
I think Regigigas handles basically all the main ghost types like well enough to the point where I think that's completely fine.
Yeah, and like for example, Gengar.
It's similar to the Ordino thing with Spoink, to where
for example, Gengar can also like be checked by Torn. So.
I suppose. It was more so just like not also like those two ghost resist, but like two of your top 4 mons are also weak to ghost, and like those two like I guess like pressuring out Slowking is whatever, and like Necrozma is also bulky as hell and can take probably one hit. And I guess you have like also Quilladin as like a pseudo ghost resist just because like it's immune to Shadow Ball when you're bulletproof. So like I guess that's something. I do think Registeel is probably gonna end up having to come a lot just because of it's like probably the most reliable rocker he has. Despite having like Necrozma doesn't always want to run it, and like I think Megachomp would rather run attacking moves. As opposed to like regular Garchomp is like pretty free to run rocks on most weeks. But like Megachomp probably wants other attacks to at least take advantage of its 120 special attack that Garchomp just doesn't have. So like I do kind of think Registeel might be brought a lot, but again with like Aloe wish passing into it, that's pretty disgusting. And then like again like you just have like the reliability of like the top 3, and like also the versatility they provide to be able to like solve specific problems in every matchup. I think is just like incredibly valuable and part of the reason why I rank this team incredibly high.
Yeah, I think this team is just super incredibly like well mashed together, and I don't know, it just functions really well. Like even what you said earlier, Brandon, it's like okay, yeah, it looks a bit basic, but basic isn't always.
No,
it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. It's just like it looks boring, but it's still good.
Yeah, it functions.
I also think Zoroark disguised as Infernape to lure in Psychics is pretty sick.
Yeah, that can also be something that's pretty nice. Also, I think Torn, just in general, it can deal with a lot of things that other mons like can't. Like for example, the ghost type you mentioned, like Torrent can just handle those, or maybe like a High Dragon, which means that Comfey doesn't always have to come for, like, for example, the High Dragon matchup, which I think is still something you should be able to like know for this team.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, I think we're
But
gonna
yeah,
call it
I think-
here because we have been going for a really long time and my cat just broke into my room to try to make a bunch of noise. So thank you all
Ferguson?
for watching. No, it is not Ferguson, it is Meatball.
Unfortunate.
Haz, do we have any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, we do. It's coming home, boys. It's coming home.
Boy. This'll
By
This
the
is not
time
gonna
you
age well.
watch this,
Yeah, I
by
was
the
gonna
time what
say-
England have probably been smashed by Italy, but
This is not
by
gonna
the
age
time
well,
being,
is it?
it's coming home.
Yeah, that is not gonna age well. Jeremy, closing remarks from you.
It's coming to Rome.
Ah, yes, the counter.
I hate Jeremy.
Well, one
I
of
hate
those two will be correct. We'll see later.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I'm Brandon. This has been Season 13 Speed Boost Power Rankings. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in a future video.